Breaking news in our hour, the Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman, Republican Chuck Grassley, has now formally released his statement inviting both Judge Kavanaugh and his accuser, Ms. Ford, to a public hearing. And you leave that, if you look on the screen, it says public hearing. It seems in their haste to get this out, they did not spell check or catch that in the headline. Now, it's not clear what Democrats think of this. We heard from a senator on the Democratic side of the committee tonight who said this is too fast. This is also, however, what some of Ms. Ford's allies have said should happen, a public reckoning under oath for the accuser and the accused. Anything that does happen this coming Monday or later will, of course, have parallels to Anita Hill. And that brings us to a question we want to probe tonight. Should one allegation of sexual misconduct prevent a promotion to the Supreme Court? That was part of the issue facing Judge Clarence Thomas in 1991. Anita Hill facing off against the Senate Judiciary Committee that we should note was made exclusively of male senators. And we're about to hear from Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, who helped ensure that testimony, and Nina Totenberg, who broke the story. A little more background. In both cases, the female accuser was worried about the tremendous risk of stepping forward. Today, we are seeing that risk played out in all kinds of attacks. There's also the questions about whether the alleged underlying conduct or the alleged lies in denying it cast doubt on whether that person, Thomas or Kavanaugh, should be held basically to a position where they decide on the life and death of other individuals. Now, tonight, Kavanaugh's defenders insist there are also contrasts. Hill was accusing Thomas of conduct that allegedly occurred when he was a 33-year-old government attorney. Kavanaugh faces allegations regarding conduct that, if true, would have occurred when he was about 17. Hill's allegations involved repeat instances. Whereas, at this hour, and the story is sure moving quickly, Kavanaugh's defenders are saying that he has gone through a vetting and this is a single accusation regarding a single incident. Now, those are the comparisons of the two cases. There's also no doubt the environment we have today has changed. You're looking at footage from 1991 when Eleanor Holmes Norton and other women led the push so that Anita Hill could even be heard.
These 7 congresswomen were so outraged by the Senate's handling of the charges against Clarence Thomas that they tried to storm the Senate. They didn't get in.
Had there been a woman, at least a woman, on the Judiciary Committee, I think this whole thing would have been handled completely differently.
We should note those women in Congress were storming a Senate Judiciary Committee that at the time was made, as I mentioned, of all men. Today, there are women on the committee, at least on the Democratic side. The Republican members of this committee that's going to face off on Monday remain today all men. I'm now joined by, as mentioned, Eleanor Holmes Norton and Nina Totenberg. Congresswoman, what do you believe is the right process for accusers to testify, and what will be important if this hearing goes forward Monday?
I had no doubt that there would be a hearing because the lessons of Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas are not that far removed, and because it is pretty clear that if the Senate has learned nothing, it is the refusal to hear an accusation, particularly a credible accusation. This one even more credible because there is a lie detector test involved. There are credible evidence that the trauma lasted for years. There was no way that they were going to deny this hearing. My objection, Ari, is that if we have this hearing on Monday, it will be a snap hearing with no preparation. And I tell you, as a member of Congress, we could not have a hearing on the simplest subject with as little notice as we now are asked, or the Senate is now asking to be given.
Congresswoman, we're getting into the procedural baseball. You were saying the rush from the Republicans is fishy. As you know, there are people who say, as Thurgood Marshall once did, justice delayed is justice denied, and they would say, let's get on with it and get them both under oath.
Well, getting on with it is the only question. Everybody agrees now. Nobody dare deny her the right to be heard. The real question is, can the Senate prepare for a hearing with every member prepared to ask the appropriate questions in just a few days? Look, they have a 5-4 majority in the court now, Ari. What is the what is the rush?
Well, right. The thing here is that the lesson, I think, of the Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill hearings was that they had hearings within 3 days of canceling a vote because they didn't have the certain votes. And they went into a hearing without facts, without having ascertained the facts. And it turned into a circus. And I think that was to the detriment of Anita Hill, to the detriment of Clarence Thomas, and to the detriment of the Supreme Court and the Senate of the United States. And if there's one thing they ought to have learned, it is to let the FBI do the immediate investigation, to reopen it at the request of the White House, and have the FBI do the immediate investigation, do what they do, interview witnesses, see if there's corroboration. Then the staff gets a second crack for a short time, and then be prepared for hearings. Now, that shouldn't take forever.
Well, let's pause on the point you're raising, Nina. You're
Yes.
saying, if I understand you, you're saying amidst this incredible, intense passion and concern on all sides, you're saying if there is one clear, fair lesson, it would be that it would be better for both the judge who stands accused at this moment and Ms. Ford, the accuser. It would be better for both of them in the process to not rush to Monday, but to have, as the Congresswoman mentions, a fuller fact-finding to set up a better hearing.
I think that's probably right. I don't know whether you could do this in a week or not. I certainly think you probably could do it in 2. There is no reason on God's good earth that there has to be a vote on this nominee before the first Monday in October when the court reconvenes, because he is not going to be able to participate fully in the court's work instantly. That'll take a few weeks before he gets his feet on the ground. And even Senator Grassley admitted that to me in an interview that I did with him about a week ago. So there is no reason except that Republicans want to get this done while they think they can, and they're worried about the election. I think it's a long shot that the Republicans would lose control of the Senate, but they're worried what might else come up if we prolong this, if we let this go on too long. But if you don't, there's a price to be paid, and the price is sometimes also at the election box.
Well, the price was with the elections after Anita Hill. Anita Hill, when Clarence Thomas was up, he had positives. By the way, Kavanaugh has maybe 4% of people saying he should be confirmed, but Clarence Thomas, who was after all to replace another African American, had even African Americans for him. So he went in with that head start. There was an immediate turnaround and an immediate regret, and we saw it in the Year of the Woman. And the Year of the Woman produced more women than had ever come to the House or the Senate. We already have the Year of the Woman coming in upon us. You put this out there, and I think you'll gallop it into the next election.
And to your point, looking at what's coming down the pike, I want to play from 1991 multiple senators who were, of course, as I mentioned, and I think it's relevant, who were all male, in the way they used their position to impugn and attack Ms. Hill, who's spoken out today and says she hopes we don't have a replay of that at this point in our history, at this new point. Take a look at these senators from 1991.
She will be injured and destroyed and belittled and hounded and harassed, real harassment, different than the sexual kind.
The good name of a good man has been tarnished. I do not believe Judge Thomas is capable of the kind of behavior Professor Hill described to this committee. And I do not believe that Professor Hill is telling the truth.
It just doesn't make sense that she simply told her friends or acquaintances that she was being harassed at work, and that's it. That's it.
Nina, that's, of course, a younger Senator Grassley who now chairs the committee. Will it be different this time if they go forward Monday, do you think?
Well, I think it will be different in one sense. They accused Anita Hill, among other things, of erotomania and all kinds of other cuckoo things. But we are in the Me Too era. There are 23 women in the Senate today, not 2, as there were in 1991. And I think that, as you see, even somebody managed to sit on the president, so he didn't even tweet about this today. So I think Republicans understand that they can't just diss an allegation like this, that they have to look into it. But if it's a fake looking into it, people will see through that.
And this is a more serious allegation. The allegation here is not sexual harassment, but sexual assault. And this deserves...
Which her lawyer has emphasized, and we're going to keep reporting on. I'm supposed to fit in a break. I want to give a very special thanks to two of you who were trailblazers on this in your own ways in the Congress and in journalism, Nina Totenberg and Congressman Eleanor Holmes Norton.
We're not dead yet, Ari.
All right. Well, not there yet, and I'm putting an on-air invite to both of you to join our hearing coverage on Monday, so consider that a date to please hold, a busy day, I think, for many of us. Thank you again. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.